The 1992 Los Angeles Uprising, the Cambodian genocide, Japanese American incarceration. What you know isn't always the full story. Our new podcast, Inheriting, about Asian American and Pacific Islander families where the past is personal.
Korean Americans, we call it 사이구.
Did you ever realize when you were a child that you became an orphan?
Camp was such a hard time. How do you think you got through it?
Listen to Inheriting from LAist Studios and the NPR Network, wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
And hey everyone, welcome back to Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yue.
And I'm Rira Yu.
And we are here for our last mid-month book news check-in for the year 2024. We're at the end of December, or towards the end of December. Rira, how are you feeling?
I'm doing okay. I cannot believe that it's almost the end of the year. I'm currently planning, 2.5 receptions because I got married secretly and now I'm paying for it.
Secret's out. Yeah. How's
It's been quite stressful because I want things to be very low key. I mean, the fact that I eloped just so that I didn't have to walk down the aisle in front of 50 plus people. Having a party is not something that I want, but I'm doing it to appease offended parties.
Oh, no.
So yeah. I mean, so far, my parents have been pretty cool. My husband's parents have been pretty cool, but it's just a lot of expectations on inviting people that we haven't seen in years or I've never met, and I'm like, why are these NPCs showing up on my guest list?
Yeah, it's a balance that's hard. When my wife and I got married, we didn't elope, but we did a civil ceremony and we did a low key brewery reception for close friends and family, and you were invited there, Rira, and we did it partly because there weren't as many expectations for us to invite all the extended family since we're all over the globe. But it's hard to it's something that we're also dealing with the impending birth of my children, which is there's gonna be a lot of people who want to come see the babies, and there's a good chance they're gonna come premature, which means I don't want their germs anywhere near my kids.
Yeah, setting boundaries is very hard when you're the children of immigrants. I'm also the oldest. I'm the oldest and also the only daughter in my family, and also the only one who's going to get married. So, or I'm already married, but you guys get my point. So, so obviously there was a lot of not disappointment, but it was a surprise. I thought my parents would flip out, but they did not. But now like I said, I am paying for it. This is my tax, my mental tax for getting married secretly. And I thought I was only going to do one reception, but all of a sudden it's I'm going to Korea apparently and doing something there. And I'm like, this is news to me. So yeah, and then I'm also doing something for the East Coast, and I'm like, this was also not something that was communicated to me. So I'm just glad that it's close to Christmas because it means that I don't have to reach out to vendors or communicate with anyone because everybody is busy with the holidays. I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm getting some slack.
Yeah, well, this sounds like your personal nightmare, and I wish you the best of luck.
I feel like I've been taking it like a champ, though, so...
That's good. I mean, you're a very organized person, so I'm sure, you got a plan going, but still, it's planning and executing are two very different things, and, once you have to start dealing with...
It's more of, I am type A, I'm pretty good at planning, but there are people who are really trying my patience, and... But we are not here to talk about my my stress, I guess, my personal hell. We are here to talk about books that are coming out in the future.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, as always, Books and Boba is supported in part by our listeners. So if you've been enjoying our podcast and want to become a bigger part of our book club, head on over to patreon.com/booksandboba. Our Patreon supporters gain access to Books and Boba's members-only Discord server, where we talk to each other and discuss our books in real time, as well as monthly bonus podcasts. So definitely hope to see you all there. As always, we start off our mid-month book news with the latest Asian American book and publishing announcements compiled by Rira through sources like Publishers Weekly and other online sources. It's the holidays, so it's a relatively light episode this month.
Yeah, there hasn't been that much news, related to Asian American literature. One piece of news that I shared on Goodreads is that the New Jersey governor signed a law that prohibited public and school libraries from banning books. So that's wonderful. More states need to follow that example.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive thing related to book banning that has come out recently.
Yeah, the fact that we are the Department of Education is under threat, I'm quite relieved that something has been done to protect literature for young readers, but we have yet to see. I want to be optimistic. So yeah, there hasn't been that many news regarding Asian American literature. So this episode's going to be entirely made up of book deals.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get started. Our first book deal, Putnam acquired To the Death by Andrea Tang, a YA contemporary fantasy set in a world of magical dueling. The book follows a teenage girl plotting revenge for her brother's death in an illegal duel, but her plans get more complicated when she falls for the daughter of her brother's killer. Publication is scheduled for spring 2026.
So this is pretty much enemies to lovers, but to the extreme, because falling in love with your brother's killer is something.
It sounds messy, but in the best way, right? Like hidden identities, sapphic romance, revenge. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of drama, and I'm really interested in like what magical dueling is. Like, is it through like, are they dueling with wands? Are they dueling with swords? Like, To the Death just sounds like a really like, my name is Inigo Montoya, right?
Yeah, it's a trope that I really do enjoy in all forms of media. So yeah, I'm pretty interested in reading it, and also magical dueling. Is it going to be like Asian magic? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so our next book deal is Athenium bought world rights in an exclusive submission to Seven, The Courage, Artistry, and Teamwork of BTS by literary scholar Lily Liu and illustrated by Maha. And this is their middle grade debut. This retrospective, made by fans for fans, explores the history of the K-pop group and shows how the dreams of 7 boys from Korea became the dreams of millions of fans around the world. Publication is set for 2026.
Now, this is like, there's already been a BTS book, right? So this is like there's a BTS book written,
well, it's not written by BTS, but it's like extensive interviews, and they have like transcripts in it. I have that book, so
I would expect no less.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I can see, the BTS book, I imagine, is like, it's a pretty dense tome, right? I feel like a middle grade version of that is, something that's more accessible to younger readers. The market is there, so why not like give them something that they can have as well, right?
Yeah, and also like it's wild to me because I have been a fan of BTS since late 2016. So I know a lot of lore. I know like I've been like a witness to their historical like rise in the music industry, especially in the West. And there are a lot of new armies, new fans who are just like, oh, I became a fan right as they went into the military service. So I like have not like seen them perform, and I'm like trying to catch up on everything, but it's like 10 years worth of knowledge that you have to just kind of search for yourself. So it's nice that there's like an actual book that like you said, is more accessible to young readers.
Yeah. So, I'm always happy that there are more books for kids to read because I feel like kids need to read more books. And if we have to achieve that through BTS, I'm okay with that.
Why do you say that as if it's like a bad thing?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good conduit to encourage reading for kids. That's all. In any case, congratulations to Lulu on their new book deal. All right. Next up, Coca-Cola acquired world rights to Gia Has a Dog Problem, written by Stephanie Ellen Tsai and illustrated by Isabella Kong. Gia Has a Dog Problem is a picture book about a girl who's afraid of dogs and a small dog who's terrified of children until they learn they have more in common than they think. Publication is scheduled for summer 2026. This is funny because, my mother-in-law, whom I live with, is terrified of all animals, especially small animals. And I'm pretty sure even a book like this will not get her to change her mind because, old people are set in their ways. But, I feel like kids are capable of behavior change. So this is a good way to, encourage that.
I feel like a lot of like Asian immigrant parents and just like older Asians in general, they're like not used to the idea of dogs as pets. I feel like that's just a modern thing because I remember for the longest time in Korea, people were scared of dogs because people just did not have dogs as pets. And if they did have dogs as pets, they were outside dogs. They were like country dogs. So like that culture has like significantly shifted. I feel like that is a cultural thing.
That would make sense because my mother-in-law did grow up in Korea.
Yeah. Like my mom used to be scared of dogs because she like I think she like got semi attacked by one when she was younger. But now she has a dog. So I guess old dogs can learn new tricks.
That's good to know.
Technically.
Yeah.
All right. Our next book deal is Quilltree Books acquired North American rights to 2 graphic novels by Wendy Xu. And one is a middle grade and one is YA. Yarrow and the Burning Mountain is about a young goblin who, to protect her way of life, takes on her evil estranged cousin who is attempting to mass produce her village's special pottery. Publication is scheduled for 2027. A Ghost is a Wish, which is due out in 2028, features a teen who sees the ghost of a classmate's sister and starts to hang out with an annoying boy and his ghost hunting friends to escape life with her controlling mother. Yeah, Wendy Xu is the illustrator of the graphic novel Mooncakes. And I know that she has been around for quite a while, but I have not read any of her comics or works. So I feel like this is a good, both of her books here sound a lot of fun and supernatural.
I love the idea of Yarrow and the Burning Mountain being about like a young goblin fighting against the early stages of industrialization and capitalism in the form of like mass producing pottery. I think it's a good message to send to your young kids that like, hey, maybe more efficiency is not the best thing.
Yeah. And I do love the second book's premise, A Ghost is a Wish, because it's like you're hanging out with a bunch of paranormal investigators. And I do wonder if any of them actually, believe in ghosts or if this is just like a fun hobby to them. And then you have a protagonist who's like, I can actually see ghosts, and the techniques and the machineries that you guys have, it's all bogus. I actually don't know if they have machinery, but I feel like a lot of paranormal ghost hunting shows, they do have like the
some
body
sort of
heat.
some sort of sensor or like measuring device to like sense the vibes of a place, right?
Yeah. I remember a coworker, she was working on a book on paranormal investigations. And it was so fascinating because she was telling me how the body heat sensors, she's like, a lot of ghost hunters, they go to like cemeteries and they're like, whoa, so many ghosts, because the sensors are showing like there's like high body heat here, or like it's like orange when it's supposed to be when there's supposed to be nothing at all. And she's like, yeah, it's because bodies are decomposing and they're like releasing heat or whatever, so that's why it's showing up on the sensors, not because it's ghosts. And I'm like, oh, did not know that. Yeah.
But yeah, both of these books sound really, really charming. So congrats to Wendy on both of her book deals. All right, for our next book deal, Scholastic bought The Bloodstone Thief by Sabina Khan, a debut middle grade fantasy novel about 12-year-old Layla Habib navigating her newfound identity and burgeoning powers as the daughter of a powerful Jinn king who must fight against a ruthless Jinn queen to save her father's threatened kingdom. Publication is scheduled for fall 2025. Yeah, so, I think, we always say this whenever one of these books shows up, but it's cool to see, like, fantasy novels for not just younger readers, for all readers, based on folklore that we're not familiar with, right? Like, not just Western folklore of, like, elves and angels and demons, but also, like, Eastern Asian folklore of, like, spirits and stuff. Like, jinns are... It's a concept that I'm still not entirely familiar with. Like, I think I get the basic concepts of what it is, but at the same time, like, it's not part of my like daily fantasy vocabulary. So it's definitely cool to have like literature available for us and younger readers that dive into the myriad folklores of the world, right?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with jinns as well. I always thought they were genies, but genies part of like the pantheon of jinns.
I think and correct me if I'm wrong, dear listeners, but like I think genies are jinn, but not all jinn are genies. I think that's kind of how it works. I think it's kind of like a umbrella term for like supernatural beings in like Arabic folklore, right? So yeah, congrats to Sabina on her book deal.
All right, next up, Zonderkid's acquired world English rights to Ly-Lan and the new class mix-up by Dinh, and it is the first book in the new Ly-Lan Finds a Way chapter book series. The series follows an 8-year-old Vietnamese American girl as she navigates a new school year, friendships old and new, and unexpected changes at home. In book 1, when her prayers for a perfect school year goes unanswered, Ly-Lan must trust in God's plans and discover the joy of new friendships. Publication is set for summer 2025, with books 2 and 3 due out in 2026. Yeah, as someone who has moved around a lot when she was a kid, going to a new school and having to start all over again from scratch and trying to manage friendships from your last school, it's a really hard growing process. And I feel like a lot of kids do experience that. And also, like, I grew up very Christian. So, the idea of praying to God that things will turn out okay in your favor and then things not ending up all that great. Yeah, that is also an experience that I'm very familiar with. So I'm sure a lot of kids who grew up in Christian households can relate to this character. And it is pretty cool that the character is Vietnamese American because I feel like we don't really see that kind of representation in children's literature. I feel like when you think of Asian Christians, like Koreans come to mind. So it is like a little bit surprising to me. Yeah, so congratulations to Dinh.
All right, for our next deal, Crown bought When We Were Snails by Nan Kao, who was the illustrator of the 2024 South Asian Book Award winner, The Carpet. This book will be her author-illustrator debut. The picture book features a woman reflecting on her childhood and her relationship with her mother. No matter where they went or how far apart they were, her mom was her favorite person. Publication is scheduled for spring 2026.
Interesting title, because When We Were Snails, and this is a picture book, I imagined it to be about snails, but it's actually about human beings.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's a picture book about an adult reflecting on their childhood, and the fact that the description mentioned that no matter where they went or how far apart they were implies that they might have been separated for a while. And I think that's probably something that's going to be relatable to a lot of parents, I guess, and who are children of immigrants, because, a lot of our childhoods was kind of dealing with our parents trying to make things work, even if that means that they couldn't be with us all the time. So
yeah, and I think it's pretty sweet that the main character, is thinking about how her mom was her favorite person. And I'm like, not a lot of people can say that their mom is their favorite person by reflecting on their childhood. I think that is a privilege, and also, it's very sweet. All right, next up, Penguin Workshop acquired Steph Lau's debut picture book, The Abominable Snow Dancer. And it's about a Yeti who loves to dance, but every time his moves slip out, things end in disaster. And it is a story about never dulling your shine. Publication is set for fall 2025.
Yeah, this sounds cute. There's nothing harder than dancing. I mean, dancing is supposed to be like an expression of like freedom and artistry, but sometimes people dance funny, and you shouldn't laugh at that because dance should be free.
Yeah, I'm like curious to see what the disasters are. Like what could be so bad that it stemmed from dancing?
It's probably just little kicks.
Yeah, maybe some accidents here and there. Clumsiness,
I mean, what's your go-to move?
I don't dance. My reception is not going to have a dance floor because I don't dance. Okay. So everybody else has to cater to my decision of I don't want to dance. So therefore, nobody else will be forcing me to dance.
That's fair. All right, our next book deal, Salam Reads by Simon & Schuster bought North American rights to A Ramadan Night, a picture book written by Nadine Presley and illustrated by Asma and Enayah. On the first night of Ramadan, Sami sets out with his father to answer the question, what does a Ramadan night feel like? What follows is an exploration of the spirit of Ramadan with senses that transcend words. Publication is scheduled for spring 2026.
We say this all the time on this podcast, but it's always nice to see more books on Asian holidays because for the longest time, they were not really acknowledged in schools. I mean, right now, like the fact that Lunar New Year is a recognized holiday for a lot of schools is like mind-blowing to me. And Ramadan is, it's a really big holiday for Muslim families. So it's nice that it's getting representation in picture books.
Yeah, always cool to have more of these books to, broaden the horizons of our young readers, and to, at least get them more aware of a world outside of their own. Or, in the case, if you are a Muslim family, to have representation to show like, here, this is what our family does. This is what our heritage, our culture, our traditions are. Because I think that's kind of something that I'm increasingly concerned with is how to pass down cultural things in a multicultural world, right? Like how do you pass that down to the next generation? So books like this definitely help a lot with that. So I'm happy to see more of these books in the world for sure.
All right, so our next book deal is Viking bought world rights to Magnificent Mary, India's champion shows the world how to fight, written by Jyoti, Rajan, Gopal, and illustrated by Tara Anand. The picture book biography is about India's boxing champion Mary Kom, who battled gender expectations, overcame poverty, and despite being only 5'2", defied all odds to win 6 world boxing championships. Publication is planned for fall 2026. Yeah, it's a sports story, and that's a genre that I really like. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with Mary's story, but I think it's really cool that it's about a female boxer who, 5'2" is not tall, especially for like, combat sports. So I think a really cool underdog story that's actually real is always cool to see, especially when it features an Asian woman.
Yeah, I mean, boxing is definitely something that I really don't see tiny Asian ladies really participating in. So yeah, like I'm really interested in hearing her story.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And our last book deal, Raycraft Books acquired world rights to the nonfiction picture book Monster Maker, The Strange Creatures of Mark Nagata, written by Debbi, Michiko, Florence, and illustrated by Inko Takita. This biography follows Mark's journey from his childhood love of drawing Japanese kaiju characters to becoming a world-renowned artist, creating his own monsters loved by collectors. Publication is planned for fall 2025.
Yeah, kaijus are pretty fun. I just found this out yesterday through Instagram story, but Pacific Rim, which is, pretty much all about kaijus and fighting kaijus. It's set in 2020, and I was just like, wow, if kaiju showed up right now, it would not be the weirdest thing for us to adjust to, because the world is falling apart. So that was a thought that just came to my mind.
I don't know. I feel like it would be pretty hard to adjust to a world if kaiju suddenly appeared out of the oceans or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually not that familiar with Mark's work, but it looks like he's a Japanese American illustrator and toy maker. And I love that, this book announcement has now introduced me to someone new. And hopefully this book will introduce kids to, like if they like to draw, if they like to, imagine weird and monstrous things, that, there's someone doing that in real life. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, being an artist is a real career, kids. And you can do cool things like make monster figurines as an adult. So
yeah, and I guess with that'll do it for our publishing news for December 2024. And like we were mentioned up top, there's not a ton of news happening in like Asian American literature. Again, happy that New Jersey has banned book banning. I think that's always I feel like we need I'd say that we need that in California, but I don't know if I can trust our voters to
I think California is pretty safe when it comes to reading materials. I think the only thing that I'm really concerned with is like quiet book banning, where like schools are taking out quote unquote controversial books like without reporting it. So no one knows that those books are not available at classrooms or public libraries. But yeah, it's always nice to have a piece of legislation that prevents people from banning books.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it'd be nice to think that us in this very liberal state are safe from that. But I'd feel more comfortable if there was like codified legislation, like preventing people from doing this stuff. So,
I can think of a couple states that need this, like, period, like Florida, Texas, Alabama. Like the big states that have been very passionate about book banning.
Yeah, but those are also states with Republican majorities in all their chambers. So the chances of this happening.
So there's no hope.
Yeah, I think I'm saying in California, we do have a pretty liberal legislative body that could make this happen for everyone. So, I guess for what I'm trying to say is if you can, you should make it so that, we become a state that also bans book banning. That's the dream, at least. So we'll see if our policymakers have the gumption and the courage to follow New Jersey's lead.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I guess that'll do it for our mid-month check-in episode for Books and Boba. Thank you so much for tuning in. I guess before we go, Reba, can you remind us what we are reading for book club for December 2024?
Yeah, so our final book for 2024 is Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Cho Nam-ju and translated by Jamie Chang. This book came out in 2016 in Korea, and it was translated in 2020. I've heard great things about this book. It's also very short. It is under 200 pages. And I feel like this is a very good counterpart to Interior Chinatown.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been having a lot of really lively discussion on Discord. So if you are a Patreon supporter, jump on there. It's a short book, so we've already read half of it. The other half we're reading at the end of this week. So by the time you jump onto Discord, the entire book will be up for discussion. Definitely interesting to see people's thoughts, because it's definitely a book that surfaces a lot of truths that we all kind of know, but at the same time seeing just the amount of little grievances that add up to huge grievances, especially for women in Korea. It's not a good times read per se, but it's definitely an important one. So I'm excited to discuss that with our book club on Discord, as well as with the reread at the end of the month for our book club podcast. And for those of you who have finished the book and aren't members of our Patreon, you can also let us know your thoughts on our Goodreads forums. As always, we love to include feedback from our listeners in our discussion podcast whenever possible. So definitely let us know your thoughts there. But yeah, we're gonna take a break next week, so no new episode. Probably try to get like something up on the feed for you guys over the holidays. But yeah, wishing everyone a happy holiday season, and we'll see you all at the end of the month with our book club discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Books and Boba. This podcast was hosted by Marvin Yue and Rira Yu and edited and produced by Marvin Yue. Follow the book club on Twitter and Instagram by going to @BooksandBoba and engage with us on Goodreads on our Goodreads group. You can also check out past episodes of the podcast by going to booksandboba.com and by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget, you can support Books and Boba and Asian American authors by purchasing books at our bookshop.org account. Check out the link in our show notes and also at booksandboba.com. Books and Boba is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of Asian American hosted podcasts featuring unique voices and stories from the Asian diaspora. Learn more about the collective and check out our fellow Potluck shows by visiting the website podcastpotluck.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey Candace, we are so excited to have you join me and Kathy for a brand new season of the Korean Drama Podcast, the podcast about watching Korean dramas by people who don't watch Korean dramas.
I'm so excited to join the podcast, but where's Kathy? She said she'd meet us here.
Candace, I'm right here.
Why is Kathy's voice coming from this chicken meatball?
So, funny story. I was so busy watching Korean dramas on my phone to prepare for this podcast that I accidentally walked into a mysterious machine and got turned into food. And, excuse me, Kim, I'm obviously a chicken nugget.
Agree to disagree.
Well, that's a weird coincidence because for our 5th season of the Korean Drama Podcast, we're watching the comedy sci-fi series Chicken Nugget.
Join us each week as we discuss the highs and lows of Chicken Nugget episode by episode.
So grab a snack, maybe not chicken nuggets, and follow us on your favorite podcast app, part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
You're totally going to eat me, aren't you?